Monday. Happy Monday for TLD Cast. I'm Brent Schlenker. I'm your host. Today and every day, 8 a.m. Pacific Time, 11 a.m. Eastern Time, 4 p.m. UK Time. For all of you across the pond, thank you for joining us. And everybody here in the U.S., it's fun to see everybody starting to load into the chat. It's good to see you all. Hope you all had a fantastic weekend. We have a fantastic guest. Speaking of fantastic things, today, Milloway is our guest from Amazon. And we'll be chatting with her shortly as soon as she gets her camera and everything all dialed in and connected. But while she's doing that, I'll go through some announcements. If Luis jumps on here, I might bring him on as well. We started kind of a new tradition on Mondays to have Luis jump in and give us a little rundown of the week ahead and any other announcements. But he's been struck down by the yearly plague that's been going around. So it ran through my family over the holidays and is still wreaking havoc with a few of us left here. But it's going through his house too. So everybody's having to deal with it a little bit. But so we wish him well, and anybody that's out there going through it, I am very sorry. It was a horrible week-long plus endeavor, and I would not wish it upon anyone, but it seems to be just one of those things that goes through. But anyways, we are the Training, Learning, and Development Cast Chat Community Conference, and a few other things that begin with C. But most importantly, you're hanging out with us today on the TLD Cast. And TLD Cast is here every single day to talk shop, to be your performance or your professional development in the work that you do in training, learning, and development. And so we appreciate everybody on the cast today. Thank you very much. Hit us up at tldc.us. And you will be able to find out everything you need to know about the Training, Learning, and Development group. Everybody that's hanging out here. Sorry, I need more coffee. My brain is going slow. But another fun thing you can do with us is to, commit to hanging out with us on a regular basis and become a member. tldc.us/membership. Membership has its privileges, and you can enjoy those privileges in the form of a discount for the event coming up at the end of the month that everybody is planning for, prepping for. I know everybody is excited to be here. tldc18.com. Check it out. Get registered and make your travel arrangements and be here in lovely, beautiful Phoenix, Arizona. I don't know where you are. I don't know what the weather is, but I'm guessing it's not even close or remotely as fantastic as the Arizona weather has been. We are in the mid 70s, low 70s probably. It's going to be cooling down this week, but only to the mid 60s. And so it's still beautiful, beautiful time of year to be here. So we expect it to basically be that way for the event as well. I don't see anything about that changing anytime soon. So we're looking forward to that. We're looking forward to having you all in Arizona hanging out together and enjoying learning about learning and training and learning and development. So tons of fun. And that is the place to be. If you want to just chat, if you're more into like a Learn Chat style or a Twitter chat style conversation, please feel free to hit up our Slack channels, which we are now. The LDcast and TChat are all free. You can hang out with us anytime you want. Get some great networking in, hang out with us during these casts, listen to the podcast. And so you can be sure to tell all your friends that there is a lot of value that you're gaining out of this. And the 24/7 conversation happening in the Slack channel has been fantastic as well. Sometimes channels like Slack will grow and there's a lot of activity, maybe based on an event or something like that, then they tend to die off. But so far, this Slack channel for TLD Chat has stayed pretty strong, and a lot of great conversations going on in there, and there's definitely room for more. So jump in there, hang out, ask questions, network, communicate, tell us what you're doing, tell us what you want to learn. This place is for you. It's for all of you. It's not, it's for me, but only because I really, really love doing this. But I do it for you guys. If you guys weren't here hanging out, getting some value from TLDC as a whole, there would be no reason for me to be here. So I just love hanging out with you guys and actually honing my craft as well. I learn as much from you guys as you do from each other. And I am one of you. I do consulting work. I work for other companies, and I am doing the work of training, learning, and development all the time. So it kind of makes this little group different than anyone else. This is run by you all. Craig helps us out significantly, taking notes. Kara North, fantastic in her social media and just promoting what we do, and just being such a fantastic member of the community in so many different ways. So many of you. Bethany does writing for us, and we have just a great volunteer team helping out with TLDC, and it makes everything that much better. And so we really, really appreciate you guys doing that. Don't forget to hit the share button at the top of the screen, just above the chat. There is a share link you can click on, and you can share out what we're talking about here across multiple. And we are always happy and appreciative that you do so. So hit us up at Google+, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. I believe those are the 4 main ones that they have links to that you can drop into your own personal networks. So we always appreciate that as well. Looks like we've got a lot of folks from the UK hanging out with us today, which is fantastic. It's good to see everybody. Lisa is here. Bethany's here. Who else did I see? Did Joe drop in? And Marco is here. So wonderful to have such a global group of active members hanging out with us today, talking shop. So I'm really looking forward to having Mel jumping on here. I think she's having some technical difficulties with her computer, maybe a network thing or something like that. But while we're working on that in the background and seeing if we can get her on here live, we can definitely still chat about some of the things that we've talked about in the past and do some follow-up trends. We're still in January, and so everybody is still talking about the trends and what we did in 2017 and what the trends were, and the micro learning and all of that, and what is going to be hot and popular in 2018. And that was one of the reasons actually why I asked Mel if she could join us today. We had the day open, and she posted some fantastic stuff into the Slack channel, into TLD Chat, offering up her ideas and what she is seeing personally as some trends that are starting to build up. And she is so well connected in the industry and very social, and so willing to share all of the work that she does, and just being at Amazon in general gives her this ability to see into and be connected with a lot of professionals in our industry. So she sees a lot of great trends. Got her showing up video. Do we have you on audio there, Mel? One, two, three. Mel, can you hear me?
Hey. Oh my gosh, sorry about that. So I have a new computer, and I think I need to restart my whole browser because it's not working on my new computer.
Oh, bummer. That is not good. Well, I'm glad you got it all hooked up. So what are you using now? Are you using Chrome or?
I'm just using my other computer that I already have set up.
Switched computers. Yeah. Excellent option. For sure. All right. I'm going to throw this up here just so people know who you are so they can hit up your website, melslearninglab.com. You can find out more about Mel there if you want to. But Melissa, why don't you just jump in as our guest today? I know everybody knows who you are, but, give us a little quick intro. Who is Mel Milloway?
Sure. Absolutely. So I am a learning experience designer and I work at Amazon. And so I like to specialize in testing out new technologies for learning and focusing on design for designing better digital learning experiences. So I do a lot of blogging on that. And then xAPI, as everyone knows, that's kind of my newfound passion for the past few months. So I'm working on a lot of xAPI projects as well.
Cool. And you know what? I don't know if you've maybe heard what we're doing recently, but we've been doing a lot of just asking people their origin story and digging a little bit deeper into your past. And I don't know if we've gotten yours yet or not, but where did it all begin for Mel? How did this all happen? How did you get to Amazon?
Yeah, wow, it's a really long story.
That's okay. That most origin stories are.
Feel free to ask questions in chat too. So basically, the way that I got started in instructional design was when I was in undergrad, actually, and it was in 2007, and I was one of the first people in my university to help start a blog, and I was really interested in online journalism. And I was very passionate about the online side of journalism, not anything else. So I got really into that, and my professor, Dr. Ganal at Bloomsburg University in undergrad for public relations, he noticed that I was super into teaching people code and different things like that, because I was helping to build up the blog and all that. And he's like, I know that you're not really super interested in public relations necessarily, but I want to introduce you to the professors in the MSIT program, which is Bloomsburg's Instructional Design and Technology program. So they came in and gave a talk to our online journalism class, and I was hooked. And I immediately was like, I had no idea what I was going to do before then. I probably was going to graduate and become a waitress or something like that. That point in time, the economy was terrible. There were no jobs or anything. And I just didn't feel passionate. And when I joined the program, I was like, this is everything I ever wanted. There's the psychology aspect and all about adult learning, and then there's the technology aspect, and then there's the design aspect, because I also have a background in graphic design. So I have a minor in that. So it brought together all these things that I really, really loved. And I was like, and I get to teach people things, which is amazing. So that's kind of how I ended up in instructional design. And I was so lucky to land an internship at AstraZeneca. I did my internship there. That's a pharmaceutical company. And it really was an amazing experience. We were working in virtual worlds, doing all kinds of crazy virtual online training, like VILT stuff. And that was back in 2011. So that's my story.
Wow. And so you were on the East Coast, right?
Oh yeah, how I got to Amazon.
Yep.
So crazy story, another crazy story. My boyfriend and I were both working in pharmaceuticals. I was at Janssen Pharmaceuticals, and he was also at Janssen Pharmaceuticals, but as a biochemist. And he was really bored at his job. He felt like he wasn't being creative. And I had never lived anywhere except for Pennsylvania in my life. And I really wanted to branch out and go somewhere else. So I worked for this amazing company called JLL at the time, right after my pharmaceutical stint. And we were still living in Philadelphia, and they were open to me moving. So we basically just picked a city to move to, and he quit his job. And now he's a web development engineer. So he went to a coding boot camp, and we just moved to Seattle, and that's where he did his coding boot camp. And I was here in Amazon. A few people just contacted me that were instructional designers here, and they were like, "Hey, we've seen your work. Do you want to chat?" And so that's kind of how all that happened.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's great. I mean, it is It's definitely a an interesting move, all the way from Pennsylvania over to become a Seattleite,
I'm
or whatever you call a
yeah,
Northwesterner.
like
Or
Pacific Northwestern, I guess. But like, it's one of those things. This is my third year here, and we literally just sold everything and just like got plane tickets and moved here. Like, I'm like, I want to do that again sometime in my life. It was the best risk I've ever taken, I would say.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's such a great story. Yeah, and I would encourage others. I mean, you know, we're starting to get some folks that are in graduate school hanging out with us and becoming part of the TLDC community, and I think it's the other reason why it's fun to have you here, because I think you're one of the few people I know that I still consider kind of a recent graduate, you know, and still having all of those experiences are still pretty fresh. And so for others that are in it right now, you know, and maybe just wondering what they're going to do when they get out, do you have any like advice or anything like that you could give to them, that if you had to go through and do it over again, maybe something you'd do differently?
Yeah. And actually, I've recently been talking to a lot of recent grads, and people who are going through grad programs right now. And I know there's one guy who's in e-learning, and he's coming to visit Seattle with his girlfriend. And so he's like really, really super interested in like what the work we're doing and like seeing that. But for recent grads, I think the biggest thing is being connected to the community as a whole. Is the most important thing. And that's kind of what got me to build up my skills and to continually get better. And because of that, I started a portfolio. And because of that, I started, you know, really seeing what are the trends going on? What are people talking about? What are you guys talking about? And that kind of also has helped to show me like the path that I want to go down, especially with everything with xAPI. You know, talking to like Craig Wiggins and Anthony Altieri and all those people like that, like having that connection to these people in the community has really helped me to shape where I want to build my skills. So I think it's
awesome.
the
That's
community
awesome.
connection. That's the biggest, most important thing.
Yeah, and that's again, yeah, that's and that's really the point that I try to get across to people, that you know, joining a community is really, really important, especially these days, more so than ever. I mean, it's more than just having a web page. It's more than just having a LinkedIn profile. If you're not out there engaging, if you're not out there connecting, you know, you're really shooting yourself in the foot, because it really is. It's such a fantastic way to, you know, to continue to learn and to have a group you can talk to and even commiserate with, right, when things aren't so good, and, you know, be able to, you know, especially if you're a one-man band or in a smaller company. I mean, Amazon has a gajillion people you can probably reach out to. They're instructional designers and learning professionals, but a lot of people are just kind of out there on an island, kind of as their own training manager in a smaller, medium-sized company, or maybe in a division, right? Maybe within a big company in one division, they're the only training person. And so they kind of, you kind of have to be connected.
And that's one of those things that I've experienced as well. Like even being in pharmaceuticals, I was in a department of 30 people, but we only had 2 instructional designers in that department. The rest were training managers who were like sales reps that they brought in to train people. So I never had that real connection. And then when I found it, I was like, oh my gosh, there's a whole world of different people out here. So actually recently, I just submitted an article, and it's to help new people to the field get more connected to the field and grow their skills. And so basically it's like top 10 things managers can do to like grow their digital learning team. And a lot of it is about connecting to the community and getting feedback from people in the community. So I have the TLD cast on there, and I've got a bunch of the Twitter chats. I've got some of Sam Rogers' posts on there and different things. So I think that's kind of the branching off point. Like you have the community, and then you're like, okay, I'm going to develop my portfolio. What do you guys think about this? So it's like a continuous feedback loop.
Yeah. Well, it's great. And that leads us right into how well you do at sharing. And I think everybody really appreciates the work that you do, sharing the work that you do. I mean, I think people really do learn a lot from you and really appreciate it. And I don't think people give you enough kudos for doing it, because it's it adds a ton of value out in the industry. It really does. And so I think we all appreciate the work you
Thank
do.
you. Yeah. And I think it's one of those things too, where a lot of things go unseen, not just for me, but for other people as well. And I'm really good about sharing. And it's kind of one of those situations where if a tree falls in the forest, no one hears it. But if it falls in the city, everyone's like freaking out and like they see it. And, it's that kind of thing. And I keep telling people that. And I'm like, I'm really good at sharing. And I know so many people that like are working on amazing projects. Like I know this one guy who just built his own LRS. And I'm like, no one knows you have these amazing skills and you have this amazing thing. It's just crazy.
Yeah. Well, that's always, we got to figure out a way to help those folks, because I think a lot of it is time, right? A lot of people are out there and they're working so hard on the work that they do that they don't spend a lot of time. Oh, I just lost you there. But they don't spend a lot of time promoting themselves. And so it's one of the things that I'd like for us to do here, and that we really do try to do, is to help help those folks get a little bit of exposure and make it easier to share. Because I know sometimes sitting down and writing a blog post about the work you're doing can be a little time consuming and whatnot, but it shouldn't be so laborious of a task to just share the work that you're doing with people. So that's one of the reasons why I think TLD Cast is a great venue for this, because you can just show up and just talk about the work that you do.
Yeah, true. Sorry, my screen froze. I had to reload.
That's all right.
But no, I totally agree. I think it's one of those things that I've kind of worked writing into my day, not writing, but like writing down like an outline or ideas of blog posts and different things like in my mind of like what I'm going to do and like write about. And so like I'll be sitting and like doing work and I'll have like a notepad next to me and I'll be like, oh yeah, like I could add this to like my list of things. And so it's kind of like I work into my day type of process and not something that I necessarily sit and spend hours doing. I more so spend hours like finding like pictures and stuff to go with things.
Finding resources, that is a challenge for everyone. And maybe we can dive more deeply into that, because I'm sure you have a nice pool of resources to draw from with all the work. But before we hit that 30-minute mark and I take a break, let's cue up a little bit of the conversation around xAPI and talk a little bit about that. So what do you like about xAPI? Let's just start there. I mean, why does it intrigue you so much?
I think for me, it's data lends itself to so many different things. Collecting data on, did the person learn? Didn't they learn? Are they applying their skill? It's like, it's even more about the user experience, and it's about finding things that you wouldn't necessarily, that you're maybe not even necessarily looking for. I mean, you can be intentional with it, but sometimes you find these things that you're not necessarily looking for. So it's been one of my my big things right now, and especially working with it to bring in data that is already in a learning record store. So basically, like a learning record store, you have a database, and on top of the database is this front end that sometimes there's data visualization and stuff. So there's nothing crazy different about a learning record store from just like being a database. It just has this front end, and basically it is set to take in specific types of data. So you can't just send like anything. It has to be formatted in a way. So that's kind of like what that is. So the one thing that's very special about it for me is not just that, because we could collect data in a million different ways. It's not just that like, yeah, this is what we're using, but it's if we use it across the field. If I go to a different company, I'll know how to do it there. If everyone's collecting data differently and doing things differently, you're going to have to relearn everything. And, it's not easy to transfer from one learning record store to another because the data would be formatted differently. There's like a million reasons why xAPI is so important to me. But one of the biggest things that I'm working on right now is the bringing data from the LRS back into different learning objects. So I know Jolt has a lot of experience with that. So I'm kind of going off of some of the stuff Jolt's doing. I see that he's like, what do you say? Let's connect on xAPI cohort. Yeah, so I'm going to do the xAPI cohort, which is really cool. I don't know if we can bring that up or post a link at some point. I did it last time, and I did a virtual reality project. So basically in that one, I just tracked what people were experiencing in this virtual reality world. So when they enter the world, I capture that they entered it. And then when they hovered over these like pulsating eyes and got to view information, I was capturing that. But in this next one, I'm going to do what I was just talking about, which is I'm going to have people take like a trivia game. So people are super into this thing called HQ trivia right now. So yeah, I don't know if anyone knows what that is. I haven't even played it, but I've seen it. People play it. But basically, I'm going to bring data that is sent from this trivia game into the LRS back into the game itself. So as people are answering, you're going to see like live updates of how other people are answering, how people are doing things. So, and then I want to tailor some things based on how people are answering and do those types of things. So you can do so much with bringing data back in because you have all this data and it's in there. And so like, what's better to do with it? You can access it, so you may as well create more customized solutions.
Yeah, you know, that game that the Domino team built, I originally thought that they built that with their own tool, but they didn't. They hand coded that, which is why I thought you might be interested in taking a look at that, because it's very much like it's all the gameplay is driven by xAPI, which I thought was really interesting too. I guess they did that back in 2016. I'm not too sure which cohort that was, but it was a while ago. But I haven't played the game, I haven't seen it, but they sent me the PowerPoint, and I was just scanning through that, and I was like, wow, this would be really cool. Because I just got through playing Fibbage on Apple TV over the holidays with a bunch of family members, and I was like blown away at how cool that gameplay was, being able to have like 8 people together in a room with the Apple TV driving it, but everybody using their phones to engage and to answer the questions and all that kind of stuff. And it was a hoot. We had a great time playing it. And I just thought, man, this, as simple of a tech as that is, and as simple of a game as that is, I do this all the time, but I just keep running through my head. How could we use this for learning, right? How could you use this for classroom-based learning, more collaborative type stuff? It just, there's the possibilities are endless.
And it's just the hardest part is building it. That's really the hardest part, especially when it's just me, or it's like me and like another instructional designer. And that's definitely the hardest part. It's like, oh, this is like such a cool idea. And so like, as I'm like thinking through this like HQ trivia type of project, I'm like, well, I know I can easily do this. So I kind of have like almost like a feature log of like things like, okay, these are the top things I want to do, but I'm not probably going to do because they're super hard to implement. So with games like the Fibbage one and the HQ trivia, I'm going to take elements from it, but not like everything.
Yeah. Yeah, I know it's great. I mean, I think, because that's how I learned to code. I can remember in the early days when I was teaching myself, I just basically cracked open other people's projects, anything open source that I could get my hands on where I could play it and then crack it open and see how they did it. And then I would just cut and paste all the elements that I wanted into my thing and then just tried it and just saw what worked. I had no programming background at all, but I just kind of hacked at everything, and I learned as I went through. And it was a difficult way to learn, I must say, but I had no choice. I mean, I had to produce a product, and so in order to graduate, so I had to just crank it out. Yes, thanks, Marco. I was trying really hard not to say it, Marco. I was trying so hard.
that is the thing, though. It's about being scrappy and not being afraid to just try something. Like and that's like that's like my total whole thing is like about experimenting, about like, okay, it might take me hours to figure it out, but like once I know it and once you have it, then it's there for, well, maybe not forever, but like you went through the process so you can do it better the next time.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think we've all said this before. I mean, you learn best from failure. I believe Yoda recently said it again. And, you know, but I also think that just out of personal experience, like I know I've pounded my head up against the wall so many different times trying to solve technical problems, trying and asking people, and they can't even figure it out. And then you realize you've discovered some weird obscure bug, but while you were trying to solve that problem, you learned like 6 or 7 or 8 other things along the way, like, oh yeah, well, that's a cool thing to have known. And you just kind of you just kind of learn all that stuff as you go. And it's easier when you're in college, right? Like I can remember sitting in a computer lab because I couldn't afford my own computer. I was there from sun up until sundown, just trying to hack through this stuff. And I was just obsessed, but I don't think I could be that obsessed these days.
It's really, really, really hard. And especially when you have a full-time job, like, because sometimes I'm at work and then I go home and I'm still working on stuff and I get really burned out and people don't see that. Like, I want to make sure people know, like, I'm not just like cruising through life, like with my articles and everything like that. Like I kind of have to force myself sometimes because it's a lot. So I'd work full time and then go home and do exactly the same thing or something similar. It's definitely, I have my days where I'm like, oh gosh, too much. But I still do it. I don't know.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, but I mean, it's great though. I mean, when you love doing it, it's a different type of stress, right? I mean, it's not like you're doing work that you don't like 24/7. You're just, you know, it's all stuff that you're wanting to learn. You're wanting to struggle through. You're wanting to take it to the next level, and I think that adds a bit of a twist to it.
Yeah, for sure, definitely. Yeah, and I like knowing what you want, what you've envisioned the end goal to be, makes it a lot easier to get through too.
Yeah. You're driving to get something done. Hey, I'm at that 9:30 mark, so I'm going to let you scan through the chat, and I'm going to take a quick break and say thank you to folks, and you can grab yourself a cup of coffee or do something, but I'm just going to thank everybody and tell everyone about all sorts of goodness with TLDC and TLD Cast and TLD Chat and everything that we do here. Thanks everybody for hanging out with us today. We've got such a great crew hanging out, people that have dropped in. We really, really appreciate it. If you have questions, I noticed there's already one question in the Ask a Question section and that we will get to shortly. If you have more questions, go ahead and type them in there and vote them up. If there becomes more than one, pick out your favorites and vote them up. But I just wanted to also throw out again, for those of you that maybe showed up late, because you know I do announcements at the beginning, you kind of skip those. And so I'm going to give them to you again and let you know how amazing this community is. And it doesn't run by itself. You guys are awesome. And you can find out more, tell all your friends about it at tldc.us. You can also become a member at tldc.us/membership. So you can engage there as well. And that really helps us with the infrastructure and all of the work that Luis does in the background to make sure that TLDC functions and that we can actually do this for you guys and pull this together, and so that we can expand the work that we're doing for you. One of the sort of secret little projects that I have a really strong interest in is helping everyone in the community, especially our tight-knit group of regulars, though, really find work, right? And helping. One of the things that I've discovered being, you know, more experienced in the industry is that I can help people find work. I can help you get connected to the right jobs, strategies for finding that next gig. And so I'm actively reaching out to companies as well and trying to start a pool that we can offer up as really, really, really good places to work for the community. And I think if we could build a very, very, very strong ecosystem, and whether it's finding consultants and connecting consultants with companies that need short-term work done, or whether companies are looking for full-time employees and we've got a nice pool of professionals that are interested and in different locations around the US. You know, I think there's a real opportunity for us here to be able to, or in the UK, yes, Bethany, absolutely. there's a real opportunity for us to be a matchmaking service or a clearinghouse, if you will, or, to get people, connected and finding the right jobs and getting businesses and companies that want to start creating more 21st century style learning and improve their L&D departments. We can help. And I believe we have a strong enough community and a strong enough network to make that happen. So that's something we are working. Yes, Bethany, that's almost the thought process I've had regarding it. I really do think we can be a very strong matchmaking service for folks and be helpful in that way. So join us on the TLD chat, the members only chat. We've been talking a lot about consulting, but that's probably where a lot of that is going to be discussed and where we're going to start having those conversations. So if you really, really, really have a desire, or you're on the fence about whether or not you want to support us with your financial contribution as a member, that is a great place to do that. I think, because that value, that's some pretty significant value there, and I think it's going to be highly focused, and starting that off with our paid membership, I think is a great way for us to do that. So if you want to join us there, become a member and help us with that conversation and help us build really that great network. A quick story. Sorry, I don't mean to take so much time, but part of this is when I was going through graduate school, my friend Michelle Fanfarillo, who's going to be at TLDC 18, she was at TLDC 16 as well. She and I kind of traded jobs. She was at Intel as a contractor, and then while she was going through graduate school, and then she decided she wanted to go back and teach. She missed it, and so I took her contracting gig at Intel. And then I went back and got a different job. She took that job back. I think we swapped that particular contracting gig at least 3 times in knowing each other, and while we were both going through graduate school. And I think back on that, and it's like, you can't do that without a good, strong network. They knew her work, she knew my work, she got me in. I proved myself there. And it was really easy for me to tell them, hey, I'm going to leave, but I'm bringing Michelle back because she wants to come back. And they had no problem doing that. So it's good for us as a community, as a network, and it's good for businesses. It's good for companies to know that they're getting people that they can rely on and sort of have our community stamp of approval on everybody that's here. And then on top of that, not only what the businesses aren't just getting a new employee, right? A new full-time employee, they're getting the network that comes along with it, because as an active member of TLDC, you can share your struggles and we can all help you get better at what you do. So when you hire somebody out of the network, you're really getting the network also. And the collective knowledge. So I really do think it's going to be a really powerful way for us to provide value and to create this job ecosystem. I'm really, really, really excited about it. Looking forward to it. So anyways, sorry to go long on that. We're at about 20 minutes so everybody hit that share button. Tell all your friends we got 20 minutes left chatting with Mel Milloway about trends and about xAPI and other fun L&D stuff. So hit that share button, send out a tweet, tell all your friends, let us know what's going on, become a member, hit up the Slack channel, and everything will be okay. So let's jump back in here, Mel, and you can kind of multitask if you want and still stay in the chat too. It's either way. But Craig wants to know how big the training department is as a whole at Amazon. I mean, are there a lot of training professionals there?
Yes, so it's very decentralized. There's a million different training departments, and then also at like fulfillment centers and delivery stations and sort centers, we have different training people as well. So there's people that are like at corporate, and then there's also people who are out in the field at these like delivery stations and sort centers and fulfillment centers. And so I actually lead a learning design meetup with another woman here at Amazon, and we have about, I think, like 600 or 700 people in our group from the learning space, or like some people may not be in learning, but they want to get into learning. So every month we do virtual meetup where we have different topics. So then the last one that we had was it was on our not New Year's resolutions, but like how we want to build our skills this year. So it was all for learning professionals to kind of go around the table in Adobe Connect and talk about, or actually we're using Amazon Chime, not Adobe Connect. We used to use Adobe Connect. Amazon Chime. So that's our platform for like webinars and whatnot. And it's also for our customers too. So companies are using it as well. It's kind of like Skype, but like not Skype. Yeah. So
Amazon Skype?
Yeah, very similar. It's called Amazon Chime. They have a website and everything. I'll type it in there.
Is it built by Amazon, or did Amazon acquire that?
No, we built it. It's built by them. So we use that for our virtual meetups, and basically everyone went around during this one and said what they want to build their skill in this year and why and how they were going to do it. So that was our last one. And then I'm working with a few other people here, and we're going to do an internal conference as well for learning people.
Oh, wow.
So we used to have one, and then it kind of fell to the wayside. So I'm helping to ramp that up. We have other ones that are more like leadership focused, but this one's going to be more focused on like the digital learning aspect of things because, there's a really big need for that. So yeah. So
that's awesome.
We have a ton of people.
If you guys do that, we'd be happy to participate, and engage if you see like there's any value there. I mean, I don't know if there's issue between outside Amazon people, engaging and whatnot, but I think we could probably bring a lot of value to something like that.
Yeah. We're still in the planning stages right now, but I definitely think we want to have some kind of way to involve some outside people, because there's always a need for having a talent pipeline and all that kind of stuff too. So yeah. I think it's one of those things we're kind of like exploring right now.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, that is awesome. I know Wells Fargo has like 200 instructional designers or training professionals in their training department across the board as well. It's some of the larger companies have that ability, but it's interesting too because you don't really hear about all of them.
Yeah, that's the thing, and the thing is as well.
There's a handful that I know a handful of folks at Amazon, but I don't know. I feel like if there's like 600 to 800 people in an organization like that, like I would know more.
It's one of those things that people are there's a spectrum of learning and development, which I think that maybe I'm like going like this. There's a spectrum of learning and development that like we don't really even talk about so much. Like everyone's in a different area of learning and development, and so it's quite interesting. Like a lot of people are just focused on leadership, but they're still in learning and development. And then there's a lot of people that are focused more on facilitating like in-person stuff. So there's like this really broad spectrum of people, like where there's some people that aren't, they've never built e-learning before and they don't know too much about it. So it's very different. Like I would not consider myself someone like a leadership, like kind of coach type of a person. Like I'm not doing like strengths finder and all that with people. I know about it, but I've never really like facilitated that. So a lot of the people, I would assume that a lot of people don't know certain people because they're more on that like human resources side of things versus like training. I don't know. Yeah, it's interesting.
Like product. Yeah. I mean, there's the product side of training. There's the training of engineering departments. There is software training. There is, and there's people who do specialize still in doing instructor-led training, and they were a subject matter expert, and really all they want to do is just train what they know. And there's still a big need for that. And there's a huge market of folks that are out there that do that kind of work. And they don't really feel like, this is the part that I always find odd, is that they don't really feel like they belong in a community like this, right? They because it's communities like this start off a little bit tech focused, and we like to geek out and talk about video Fridays and all that kind of stuff. And there's so many people in the L&D industry that are like, that's not really my crowd, but when it would be really still great to have them there, because I know every once in a while I'm called in to do stand-up training stuff and need to get in front of a crowd and need to refresh my ILT skills. Just like everyone else, it's a tool in our toolbox, right? I mean, it's another part of the job.
Yeah, it's really true. And there's such diversity in training. There just really is when it comes to topics and all that and skills.
So let's jump back into the xAPI stuff. Do you have any favorites? Like what's your favorite like xAPI solution that you've seen that you really really blew your mind and you thought, wow, this is definitely
so
the
I
future?
think that there's a lot going on in the community that I've like participated in, but just that I've like heard about. So I can't remember who it was. And I hope I'm gonna butcher which vendor it was. So I'm just not even gonna say which vendor it was. Maybe someone can answer in chat. But one of the most recent articles that I read was about there's like this game where people play their cars and they're playing soccer, Rocket League. That's what it's called. And they're playing soccer, these cars, and there's an API for Rocket League where you can get like the stats of like how you're doing versus like how other people are doing. So so this vendor was going through and playing Rocket League with people, and they were translating the API the API into xAPI. So one of the really cool things about xAPI, because API, you can translate the data from different APIs into xAPI and send everything to the LRS. So you can like get scores and things like that from pre-existing things. Like for instance, I think one example that I gave, which I think it would be really super cool, is say you have someone who's selling something, and they're selling online, social selling. And you can pull the data in from like Salesforce on how many sales people have gotten and things like that. And then you can pull in data from their Twitter. So you could see like correlate those two things together, which is like really, really cool. Like to be able to see, okay, this person is selling like a massive amount and they're utilizing this hashtag or something in this way that no one else is using it. And then you can go investigate, because it's really about seeing like, it's not seeing if something's working, it's getting that outlying data to see, like, to go see what is happening. So then you can go investigate that and dive deeper into it. So I think that's like one of the best things about xAPI is the ability to see that outlying data and see where that's taking you.
Yeah. And so how, like, somebody in training or an e-learning professional, though, I mean, I think a lot of folks are having a really hard time understanding that, like what you just described. I think a lot of people do not see that as their job, right? That's like, it's hard for them. Is there anything
It's just like too bad.
Are you able to help explain it to people to get them to kind of start to see that this is important and that, for that exact reason, right? Like, it's not solving a problem. It's not solving a learning objective. It's not all of this, but what it's doing is that it's exposing some realities that you as a training or learning professional can then go
exactly. And it's not, and it's like not even just that, like, oh, this person's selling for this. It's like, okay, now that we know this, let's create training so that other people can do this as well. Like, it's like, what's this? It's like helping you find that secret sauce and then helping you to be able to maybe create training based off of that.
Yeah, I mean, that was the whole thing that got me excited about when the internet shifted to being more social, right? When it became less of a one-way conversation and more of wow, now everybody can just very quickly create content and be online and be connected with other people. To me, that was an opportunity for our industry to have a major shift from being an order taker to being more like a firefighter, and in the sense of preventative measures. So we can be engaged in these social conversations within the communities of people that we support with training. But before something becomes a problem and becomes a fire, we can see the spark and we can see the original conversation and say, hey, it looks like people are struggling with XYZ. We're the training department. We're in a unique position to be able to help them with that immediately before it becomes a much bigger issue or something that somebody has to deal with. And I think now with xAPI and data analytics and AI and all of that, we're taking that idea to the next level and sort of automating it with being able to collect that data and being able to tell stories based on the realities and the data and what's happening and go, okay, oh, we can impact that. We can help, right? High performers are doing these things and it correlates with these other things. If we teach other people how to do those other things, there will be some sort of connection to them performing at that level.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it lets us work more agilely as well, and on projects, especially like when you start getting that data in, that data might tell you something, and that might affect how your project is, and it might help you change your project to better fit the needs of your users. So that's something I'm also looking at too, being more iterative and changing things based on the data that we're getting.
Yeah, but that iterative development keeps coming up over and over and over again, and we need to be very cognizant of that, I think, as a community and as professionals, and get better at that, I think, and get more comfortable with, following those same processes that developers are using these days. I think it's really important. Do you have any resources? Like, we've only got a few minutes left here before we hit the top of the hour. Anything you can share with folks, or anything that you've discovered recently that you think is a pretty cool find?
I have too many things. I have like a whole list of things. One of my favorite things that I keep mentioning to people is there's a plugin for Chrome, an extension called Panda. And it's one of my favorite things in the world. And that's actually how I find a lot of the cool things that I'm using or working on and things like that. So I don't know if we can put that in chat. Like, let me see if I can get it. Panda extension. And you can tailor it to like your needs. So I have mine as like designer news. And then I have Dribble as one of the things, but you can change it to, oh yeah, there it is. You can change it to like product hunt or whatever you want. You kind of customize your dashboard, and it just pops up. And I love the designer news one because new products that are out that are really cool, or websites people are working on that are super important, or free font sites, or like just anything design wise that's really trending comes up on it. So yeah, I really love that one. That's helps me find all my like new stuff. I know it's not related to learning, but I really like to bring the influences from design and from web development into learning, because that's what I mean. If you're working on digital learning, you're working on something most of the time. A lot of the time it's for the web. So I like to make sure that I'm bringing in those best practices.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I asked, because everybody is really always interested in that kind of stuff. Anybody that's doing what we do, and you're doing anything digital, you better have a little bit of graphic design knowledge, and you better be able to at least be able to find resources and have a pool of go-to resources, or at least a process for finding those resources. Because like you were saying earlier, I think a lot of the projects I work on, really a big chunk of the development time isn't really in development. It's in out finding the right image, or creating the right image, or, getting all of the elements, together, and then doing
and definitely, especially about like the user experience design of things. Like if you're working on a digital project, say like a learning portal or something like that, you should at least know some best practices in like building, like how people navigate websites and different things like that. It helps tremendously. And I look back a few years and I'm like, wow, I've come a long way. And I think it's really because of the community and because of these resources that are out there. It's helped me tremendously. Like I look at my projects before and I'm like, whoa, they were really bad. Really bad.
So you're brushing up on some of those skills, huh? So what are you working on right now? Like what's a good example of a project you're working on, to give people kind of an idea of the type of things you do at Amazon?
Well, I can't really speak to necessarily Amazon, but I'm working on like personally, I'm working on the xAPI next cohort. I'm kind of coming up with some mock-up designs for my project, the one that's kind of like HQ trivia. So basically I'm creating like this trivia type of template that people can reuse and repurpose, and they'll just have to put in their data from their learning record store, pull data back in to it, and then change a few things. So I'm working on that as like a template for people to use. And I've got like a mood board for that. I wonder if I can post it. I don't know if we have enough time, but I'm mood boarding. So the way that I like to start my projects is by mood boarding. So it's basically, I collect like different, so that's my mood board for this project that I'm starting. I collect resources like screenshots and things of things that I like. And then I put them all together and kind of create like what the user interface design is going to look like. And I do a mock-up based on it. So
cool.
That one has a lot of like the colors that I want to use, like bright colors, and has some screenshots from HQ Trivia. So yeah, so it's kind of like a thing that helps inspire you to build something.
Well, that's awesome. That's another great tip. Thanks for sharing that as well. That's fantastic. But I'm sure you share all of these fantastic tips on your melslearninglab.com website.
Yes, I do. And
right?
And also my LinkedIn.
Yep,
I share a little bit more to my LinkedIn just because it's easier to post to there. My website, everything is built in Markdown, so it takes longer to post stuff. So you'll find more on my LinkedIn, but eventually it migrates over to my website. And yeah, my website has some of my portfolio pieces. I need to get better at adding more. But I have my
That's fine. That's what I was going to ask you. I know you're really into coding a lot of this stuff yourself, and you like to really dig into the code and do all of that. But do you have any tool sets? Like what's your go-to tool set when you're building something? I mean, I know you're an articulate user, you know, but like, what do you prefer? What are your preferences in when you actually have to do the building?
Actually, yeah, that's a really good question. A lot of what I work on is video. So I do a lot with After Effects, and then Camtasia, and Adobe Premiere. I do use Storyline, but I use it in a different way for most people. I use it for more so like building like simulations and games and things versus like e-learning. Like I like to embed those things inside of something like more of like a longer page with text or something like that. Like I build things a little bit differently. I think I'll save that for another time because it's like very, very different what I do. And I've been meaning to do a blog post on it. And then I like to use Adapt Learning Framework and the Adapt authoring tool as well. I really have a variety of tools. I don't limit myself. Like if I think that virtual reality is going to be something that I need for a project, like I'm going to teach myself it. I don't necessarily say, no, I can't do this because I don't know how. So that's kind of like, that's kind of how I approach development. I do it based off of that. More so than just like, okay, this is my tool set and this is what I'm going to use. Like I never approach anything that way. I do it more so from like, this is what's going to be best for our learners, and this is how much time we have for this to build this. So that's kind of the approach.
Cool. Well, I'd love to have you back on, and maybe we can do like a members only session where you help everybody do a deep dive and talk to everybody about your process and your workflow and how you do go through and really dig into some of these tools and how you build something. Would you have some time to help us out?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like
I love talking about that stuff because I do approach it from such a different perspective than most people, and I'm sure people are curious about it. And I know like there's like this kind of controversy. Like I do things like more like a user interface designer does things versus like an instructional designer does things when I'm working on projects. So it's a little bit different.
Yeah, no, but it's great though. And you're right. I do know people are very interested, which is why I'm asking. So I'd really love to, and it can be on your time frame. It doesn't have to be at this 8 o'clock hour for you. We'll set up another time where we can invite people, and we can just do a real deep dive on that specific process and help people understand how it is you do what
awesome.
you do.
Yeah. This is always so much fun for me.
Oh, good. I'm glad you love it because we do too. So we appreciate having you. And we're at that top of the hour. So I'm going to close your video, but you're still going to be here. You can still hang out in the chat and answer some questions if you want. I think there was one question left that was left unanswered. Does the digital learning differ greatly depending upon location at Amazon? Bethany was wondering. And maybe you can answer that in the chat as I'm starting to help close us out here. Awesome. Hey, thanks everybody for hanging out with us today. I know everybody's got meetings they need to get to. Oh, I didn't mean to click that. I just wanted to do a quick shout out to everyone and say thank you for hanging out with us, and thank you for being a part of the community and sharing with all of your friends and hitting that share button and telling everybody about all the great value that you're getting from the network here. Hit us up at tldc18.com. The event is coming up very, very, very soon. End of the month, 29th and 30th, a Monday and a Tuesday. So maybe you could come out on like a Saturday before and enjoy the beautiful weather and hang out, check everything out in the Phoenix area. If you haven't been here, there's very, very close parks and mountains to hike and climb. If you're into that kind of stuff, there's just a ton of fun things to do. So if you want to spend the weekend prior to that Monday and Tuesday for the event, hanging out and enjoying Phoenix, definitely let me know, and I can help you find some really cool stuff to do while you're here. And maybe we can even pair up a bunch of folks if you're not here with anyone, and make a group event out of it if you want. Just let me know and we can help you do that. Also, hit us up at tldc.us and become a member. And also, don't forget about the chat at TLD Chat in Slack. If you want to get connected there, you can send us a message directly and we can get you hooked up there as well. Also, you know what? We have some great note taking going on. Craig always collects notes, and when he's not here, somebody always fills in for him. And so we've got a great archive of content. We've got a ton. We've done over 200 TLD casts. And if you go to tldc.us/tldcast-archives, you can go and go back through the archives and see and hear a lot of the great conversations that we've had, a lot of the scroll through, check out a lot of the links, and get value that way as well. There is a lot of information in those pages there. So feel free to check those out. It'll be tons of fun. But for now, you guys have a great day. It's been so much fun to see everybody. Thanks for hanging out with us today. Everybody from the UK and beyond and outside of the US. And really, really appreciate all of the support. You guys are fantastic. We will see you tomorrow. Adios.
Yay!